And we're back. Now to the debate over government spying. I spoke with the heads of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Democrat from California, Dianne Feinstein, and as well as the chair of the House Intelligence Committee, both the intelligence chairs, Republican from Michigan, Mike Rogers. It was their only interview together since President Obama's important speech on Friday. Senator Feinstein, Chairman Rogers, welcome back. Good to have you both. So the future of spying, it seems to me, is very much like the president. Chairman Rogers, do you view this as a big victory?
Well, I thought the most important victory was the president standing up and saying, hey, the program did not have abuses. This wasn't sinister. It wasn't a rogue agency. It was legal and proper. You know, some of the suggestions on how to move forward I have some concerns with, but I thought it was an important really an important role for the president to play. I wish he'd have played it 7 months ago, but I was glad to hear it yesterday.
So Edward Snowden, whatever you think of him, he leaks these documents, he leaks the information about these programs. And Senator Feinstein, there's a big hue and cry and a big debate, but basically the president says that these programs are here to stay. And critics of the speech, as I've been reading them, seem to say very little will change. Barton Gellman writes about it in the Washington Post, and here's what he says. Obama placed restrictions on access to domestic phone records collected by the National Security Agency, but the changes he announced will allow it to continue or expand the collection of personal data from billions of people around the world, Americans and foreign citizens alike. It doesn't seem like a lot of privacy protection.
Well, I would disagree with Mr. Gellman. I think that what the president has said is that he wanted to maintain the capability of the program. That as Chairman Rogers said, it has not been abused or misused, and it is carried out by very strictly vetted and professional people. Now, what he said is, by March 28th, I'm asking the Attorney General to come back to me with some suggestions and probabilities of how the data might be stored by other than the government. And I think that's a very difficult thing, because the whole purpose of this program is to provide instantaneous information to be able to disrupt any plot that may be taking place. And you know, I think a lot of the privacy people perhaps don't understand that we still occupy the role of the great Satan. New bombs are being devised, new terrorists are emerging, new groups, actually a new level of viciousness. And I think we need to be prepared. I think we need to do it in a way that respects people's privacy rights. Well, let me make one other point. When you look at what companies collect, the government does not seem to be a major offender at all.
But isn't the difference, of course, Chairman, that it's only the government that can deprive you of your liberty? You know, Google or Amazon, that's still, you still have to click to acquiesce in that, even though they have a lot of that personal information. The government seems to want total awareness, and that's where, even in the name of security, a lot of critics say, sorry, that is an invasion of privacy, and that is going overboard. And Edward Snowden himself, when he was interviewed in the Washington Post, he said the following about what he thinks is lax oversight. The issue was basically what entitled Snowden, now 30, to take on the responsibility of being the oversight. The whole question, who elected you, inverts the model, he said. They elected me, the overseers. He named the chairs of the Senate and House Intelligence Committee, both of you. Dianne Feinstein, he said, elected me when she asked softball questions in committee hearings, he said. Mike Rogers elected me when he kept these programs hidden. The FISA court elected me when they decided to legislate from the bench on things that were far beyond the mandate of what the court was ever intended to do. The system failed comprehensively, and each level of oversight, each level of responsibility that should have addressed this, abdicated their responsibility. So reformers have another chance. I'll start with you, Chairman Rogers.
Sure.
Will anything change?
Well, first of all, I mean, I couldn't disagree more. That's like having the janitor at a bank who figured out how to steal some money, deciding matters of high finance. This was a thief who we believe had some help, who stole information. The vast majority had nothing to do with privacy. Our Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines have been incredibly harmed by the data that he has taken with him, and we believe now is in the hands of nation states.
What help did he have? Who helped him, do you think?
Well, there were certain questions that we have to get answered, where some of the, first of all, if it was a privacy concern he didn't look for information on the privacy side for Americans. He was stealing information that had to do with how we operate overseas to collect information to keep Americans safe. That begs a question. And some of the things that he did were beyond his technical capabilities. Raises more questions. How he arranged travel before he left, how he was ready to go. He had a go bag, if you will, and how he
But how high level do you think? Who at what level
let me just say this. I believe there's a reason he ended up in the hands, the loving arms of an FSB agent in Moscow. I don't think that's a coincidence, number one. Number two, and let me just talk about this.
You think the Russians helped Ed Snowden?
I believe there's questions to be answered there. I don't think it was a gee whiz luck event that he ended up in Moscow under the handling of the FSB.
That's a significant development, if true.
Well, I said we have questions we have to answer, but as somebody who used to do investigations, some of the things we're finding we would call clues that certainly would indicate to me that he had some help. And he stole things that had nothing to do with privacy. And if I just real quickly, though, real quickly, the oversight that is conducted, that's what's the interesting thing about this. With all the disclosures, we find out, holy mackerel, the court's involved. Both the Senate and the House committees are involved. There was plenty of oversight of the programs, and it was very restrictive. Only 288 times that they even use the business records in 2012.
So, Senator Feinstein, is there any chance that some of your colleagues who disagree with you will be successful in shutting down the program, the bulk collection of this metadata?
I don't believe so. The president has very clearly said that he wants to keep the capability. He wants to look for other than the government holding the material. So I think we would agree with him. I know a dominant majority of everybody, virtually except 2 or 3 on the Senate Intelligence Committee, would agree with that. He wants to make some changes in the FISA court, that you have to have the approval of the court before you query. That the amicus concept involving a panel would come into being. But the important thing to me is the president very clearly said we need this capability to keep people safe. Now let me say one thing about Mr. Snowden. I heard him on television say that he went there with the intent to scrape our systems, that he obtained a scrape tool, and he began to scrape over, I believe, a 2-month period, as much as he could get a hold of. This isn't somebody who comes upon something and says, this isn't the right thing for the government to do. I want to go out and talk to people about it. He came there with the intent to take as much material down as he possibly could.
And do you think you agree with Chairman Rogers that he may have had help from the Russians?
He may well have. We don't know at this stage. But I think to glorify this act is really to set sort of a new level of dishonor. And this goes to where this metadata goes, because the NSA are professionals. They are limited in number to 22 who have access to the data. 2 of them are supervisors. They are vetted. They are carefully supervised. The data goes anywhere else. How do you provide that level of supervision?
Is it critical then to get to the bottom, and will you investigate who might have been involved and whether there was any link to the Russians?
Absolutely, and that investigation is ongoing.
Absolutely.
Sure. But you have to remember, Al-Qaeda has changed the way they communicate based on this. That puts our soldiers at risk in the field. That's a real dangerous consequence. Nation states have started to make changes that concern us greatly. We're going to have to rebuild whole aspects of operations from our Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines that will cost billions and billions of dollars because of the information he stole and gave, which we believe is now in the hands of nation states who are doing something with it. There's no honor in that.
All right, we'll leave it there. Senator Feinstein, thank you very much for being here. Chairman Rogers, thank you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.